First things first, let's look at the median sales price for last May versus this May. Last May, median price 206,500, and then this May is 224,950. So that's up 9%.
That feels like more than 9%, but yes, I would have expected at least a 10% increase.
We're going to have to take that up with the calculator.
Calculator might be wrong. 206, 224, that's 18,000. 18 divided by 206. Sounds like more than 9%. Do the math.
Is it?
Yeah, let's still see it. I think we have lost 90% of the viewership at this point. So,
Okay, fair enough.
Rewind. Let's go.
Do the rewind edit. Michael,
Yes.
we've got 3 pieces of paper in front of us.
All right. let's
6
do it.
total. All right, so we got May numbers from last year, we got
Right.
May numbers this year, and we've got May 2017.
Okay.
So let's check them out. Let's see what's trending, what surprises there are,
All right.
all that good stuff. So let's look at the median sales price for last May versus this May.
Okay.
Looks like we are up 9%, confirmed multiple times with the calculator that it is 9%.
Are you sure?
Yes, very sure. Extremely sure.
Okay, 9%. I would have thought 10 or higher, 10% or higher year over year. That's what I thought the growth in sale price would be.
Fair enough. Well, again, you're going to have to take it up
Sure.
with the calculator.
Okay.
So last May, our median sales price was 206,500.
Okay.
And then this May, we were at 224,950. So again, 9% there.
Yeah.
Our days on market has not really budged much at all.
Okay.
Last May versus this one. So we're at 10 days on market now, 9 last month. I don't even know if that's significant.
Incredibly fast to sell a house. If it goes 2 weeks, all of a sudden you're freaking out. Like, why is it taking you 2 weeks to sell my house? And everybody considers a normal market to be more like 90 days to 120 days. Just crazy that 10 days is expected and the norm.
Yeah, it's that conversation is like internally, I'm kind of laughing for the reasons that you said, but I mean, it's just the way the market is. So it's understandable if a seller is like, what's going on if we're on, day 10 and not much is happening. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's really not that long. So
It's crazy fast. I mean, honestly, you read the textbooks and the education books, they say that, real estate is supposed to be one of the most illiquid investments that you can make, right? There's no fast way to get it done, but 10 days is not that long,
Yeah,
Like, hey, I've
nowadays-
decided to sell my largest financial asset, and 40 days from now, I'm done with it. Like, that just seems not unreal. So, yeah, I have a feeling that's going to change as we continue to do these throughout the year.
definitely. And kind of veering off of that, right now we have 208 active listings, 185 pending. And so those numbers were flip-flopped there for a minute. How long?
Really, for the last 2.5 years or so. I mean, the pre-pandemic sales, January of 2020 and February of 2020, were really fast. Those sales were going fast. We didn't have a lot of inventory already. There's a little bit of an inventory problem then. In our local market, we just haven't had enough new construction starts. So, and we haven't had that for a decade. So we already had low inventory. So with the low inventory, the low active listings we had, we were already seeing it kind of invert, and there were more pendings than there were active, so low available. And then when the pandemic happened, there for a moment in that March when everything shut down, it kind of froze, and we had a little bit higher inventory than we had pendings. And then since that moment that we opened back up, late March, beginning of April 2020, it's been inverted the whole time. So the fact that we are now having a 30-unit gap tells you that, hey, inventory is coming back. That's a good sign. We've been too low for way too long. So people might get a little excited and a little concerned that there's 208 active listings, and last year there were 74 or whatever the number was. It was somewhere close to 74. I remember looking. And now they're like, oh, that's double the inventory. Inventory's up 100%. It is, but it's still short, at least double again. Like, we need 400 houses active on the MLS to get back to a normal buyer and seller market.
Right. You think that this flip is a a little blip in time, or you think we're well on our way to that?
Oh boy, that's a good question. So that's going to lead you to another one of these numbers you're going to talk about here in a minute. But I think we're here to stay as far as number of actives being more than number of pendings. I think that we're here to stay for that for a while.
Mm-hmm. You think that's a interest rate thing, or you think there's more going on than that?
I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. So interest rate is the most direct impact on number of active listings, number of pendings, how many transactions close. Interest rate has a very direct impact. That's how much you can afford. That's how much you can pay. It directly affects that. There are a lot of other factors that are indirect that are all kind of piling on in the wrong direction for home buying to be good, or for home buying to be a good idea for everyone. Mm-hmm. You know, for the last couple of years, when you're paying a 2.5% interest rate or 3% interest rate, home buying is pretty much a good idea for everybody. Right. Rent is much higher than your mortgage payment. That starts to change when you see 5% or 6% or, heaven forbid, 8% mm-hmm. mortgage rate. So that does change the other things that are impacting these same buyers. If you're making, let's call it $55,000 a year, that's the median household income in Whitfield County. So if you're making roughly $55,000 a year, and the mortgage payment you were going to get was $1,100 in December of this past year, and now the mortgage payment is $1,500, well, there's $400 there that you got to make up. Okay, $55,000 a year, $1,500 a month, those numbers still are okay, but you also aren't paying $2.50 a gallon for gas. You're paying, $4.23 is what I paid the last time I got gas. So that's a big jump. So if I'm paying $300 a month in gas, now I'm paying $400 a month in gas. That's a difference. Then I go to the grocery store, and what used to cost me $100 now costs me $155 at the grocery store. So now I've lost another $50. And so all of those things continue to add up. The credit card reader that we use, the cost to run the credit card went from $2.99 to $3.50. So again, credit card companies are seeing costs go up, which get passed on to the consumer. So that's our merchant services rate or whatever. Right. So you take that and you multiply it times every single thing you buy. Well, all of a sudden now that $1,100 a month mortgage payment and that $1,500 mortgage is the difference between, yes, I'm going to buy today, or I'm not going to buy today. Right. So all of those factors adding on are causing a little bit of a shift.
Holding out for the crash, as everyone likes to say, right?
Yeah, that's right. So let's talk about crash. What's the next statistic on here?
I did want to call out the median price per square foot, because so many people like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Which is not the be all end all way to price a house, but it's definitely a good starting point. So yeah, the median last May $125 a square foot. Now it's $140, which to me is funny. Like I remember once upon a time, not very long at all, where $140 was a brand new construction house.
Yeah.
Now
look back at your 2017 number. What's the price per square foot there? That'll drastically open your eyes. $76 a square foot is what people were paying in 2017. That's the median price per square foot in 2017. That is nuts.
If you buy something at that price now, it is a slam dunk, and you can't live in it.
For sure. The county will not let you live in it if it's $75 a foot.
Those windows are boarded up.
Or it's a warehouse.
Yeah.
You can probably get a warehouse for that. So, yeah, the price per square foot. I'm glad you brought up the fact that that's not the end-all, be-all for what something is worth. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, somebody wants to bring it up. I'm not paying $160 a square foot for that thing. Yeah. And other people who are sellers that, well, my neighbor got $160 a foot, so I should get $165 a foot. Okay. Yes and no. Like, not many of our buyers say to us, I really got to have 1,800 square feet. Almost all of them say, I really need a 4th bedroom, right? Like, what they really care about is, can I get my 2 kids in a space and still have another space, whether it's an office or a scrapbook room or man cave, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I need that 4th space. And so they really don't care if it's 1,680 square feet or 1,860 square feet. Yeah. Does it have that 4th space? Like, that's what I want. If you're renting an apartment, does it have that 3rd space, right? Is it 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and a bonus room that I can do something with?
Yeah. Diminishing returns after a while.
Yeah. So, and they just don't care about the square footage near as much. If you can get a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,100 square foot house, awesome. It doesn't have to be 1,300 square foot house. As long as it's got that 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and it doesn't feel cramped, we're good. Yeah. So people need to realize that it's more about flow and size of the feel and not necessarily what the tape measure says when it comes to whether or not it will sell.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of times it feels, you can't feel that difference until you look at a piece of paper, and then you never would have known anyway. So
yeah, that's right.
I believe what you were hinting at a minute ago was you want to talk
The crash. Let's talk
about
about the crash.
Okay, the crash that's probably not coming.
Well,
that one?
No, the crash that happened in May of 2022. Corey's got that confused look.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
Corey is very confused.
So May 2021, there were 120 transactions in the MLS.
Oh, sure, that crash.
Yeah,
Okay.
that crash, right? 120 listings sold in May of 2021 in the Dalton MLS. Okay, that's good. We've been seeing roughly 110 to 120 units per month sell in the Dalton MLS. Then you go to May 22. Whoa, pump the brakes. 88 listings sold. So 120 to 88. What would your calculator say that drop is?
Well, the calculator didn't run that one, but without even knowing what the drop is, I can tell you that it is significant.
Yeah, it's roughly 30%, right? It might be 27%, it might be 31%, I don't know, but it's a roughly 25 to 30% drop, right?
And I would attribute it to the things that we just covered. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, interest rates, the cost of essentially everything,
Yeah,
knocking folks out of the buying pool.
yeah. So I read an article the other day. We should have Jamie pull it up. Jamie, reference to Joe, but we actually have a Carl, not a Jamie.
Young
But
Carl.
I can be your Jamie.
There's an article out that talks about the amount of credit card usage by Americans and the amount of savings rate by Americans. And when you look at the map, it's completely inverted. Like 6 months ago, a year ago, much more savings, much less credit card use. Over the last 6 months, it's like completely inverted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it tells you that the American consumer not doing well. Yeah, when they're using their credit cards that much and they're saving virtually nothing, that's not a good sign. So I am hoping that it is just a blip. I'm hoping that May was the hiccup in the market where people got scared, because you got to remember, May closings are early April, late March contracts. You got to remember, like, that end of March area, that time frame was, oh my gosh, are these rates ever going to stop going up, right? So we had already seen that bump. That April closing data shows you that people were jumping in because they're like, oh, the rates are going up, we got to hurry. So that's January, late or early February. Boom, let's put it under contract. We got to hurry because rates are going off. So we see that, and then at the end of that really fast rise in interest rates, we see people say, we don't know if that's going to stop. So at this point, we're pulling back. We're not going to buy. We're going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
So for the last month, 20 days or so, interest rates have kind of flattened out. It was 5.5 a month ago. It's 5.5 today. It's kind of steady. There's a few ups and downs. You might get 5.25. You might get 5 and 2/4, 3/4. 5.75 maybe. So you see that, and okay, now there's some stability. Okay, let's see if we want to go buy something. So it's possible the June number looks better than May. It might even take till July closings to see us catch back up to last year. But I am hoping that it was just a blip in the market. Interest rate was completely the dominating factor, and all these other factors play in but don't have as much impact. If July numbers are still down like May numbers were, then we know it's all those other factors. Then we know, okay, now we have a trend. We got May, June, and July that show, wow, okay, the consumer really is not going to buy,
Yeah. I think I agree with you on probably July or so. Things changing, because whenever there is a big shift in anything, not just real estate, but people, that's what people respond to. And then, like you said, once it kind of stays put, even if it compared to what it was is not as good, in this case interest rates, people adjust. Like, that's the new normal. Then you kind of just proceed, because if you were looking for a house now, well, you'd probably still like to have one in July, and then once your kind of guard comes down, a little less nervous about it.
Yeah, I think the long-term test is really October. So in July, people are still likely trying to get closed because they want to start the new school year in their new place, right? A ton of buyers are families that care about school systems and that kind of thing. So if they're going to make a move, they're going to do it in the summer. They're trying to get in before school starts in August. So in our area, one of our counties, Murray County, starts in September. So we may see July, August kind of blend. But I do think once school's back in session, and then we're still dealing with 5.5 to 6% interest rates, and inflation has not been tamed, then October will be the key indicator for this year, 2022. Did we contract or did we continue to grow? You will know by October.
Then we will jump on over to the breakdown of how these houses were paid for.
All right.
So, again, we'll compare last May to this May. So, cash closings, the amount 23 and 23 did not change, although the percentage certainly did, since we have 88 closed listings last May versus 21, or sorry, this May versus 21. Conventional, I mean, that percentage stayed about the same, 35, 38. I don't think that's really significant, unless you disagree.
No, I agree. I think I was just trying to consider the cash situation. How did we end up with 26% in cash this year versus 19 last year?
Yeah, that the percentages were swapped.
Yeah.
For the April. And the conclusion that we arrived to there was it just simply costs more now to pay that cash versus a year ago. But so yeah, like you say, I kind of expected it to follow that same trend, but it did not.
I wonder if the buyer this May is a seller of another house and turning around and buying it because they had so much equity. Now they can pay cash or a cash equivalent. A lot of these cash sales are not actually cash, they're cash equivalent, meaning equity line, or they had enough equity in their other house that they could pay 80% down and then just took money from a retirement account or something to finish it off. So yeah, I'm wondering if we're starting to see higher cash just because people have more cash because of the equity that they had in their other house.
Right.
Yeah, I think that might play into it. In May of 21, with it being 19%, that's still early enough in the pandemic. You know, it's 13 months into the pandemic where people may not have wanted to use their cash. And back then you could get the money for so cheap, 3%. People might have said, I'll just borrow the money even though I have the cash, right? So with interest rates being higher, maybe that's the driver is I don't want to pay that higher interest rate, so I'm just going to pay cash. It could have caused...
I think that would definitely be the biggest piece of the puzzle, the interest rate.
Yeah.
Because if I personally buying a house and I have the choice of pay basically most of or maybe even all of the cash that I have versus, cheap money, 3%, I just take the 3%.
Yeah. But if it's expensive money, let's call it 5.5% or even 6%, then yeah, you're like, oof, I'd rather pay the cash and not have that high, quote unquote, interest rate, which is still lower than historical average. So
FHA, no shocker to me that one went down a little bit. So
buyers are trying to get FHA. Sellers are like, nope, not taking the FHA deal.
I'll take one of these 8 conventional or cash offers that I got.
That's right.
So that's the reason for that. I don't think there's any further explanation there.
Yep, makes sense.
And VA, those guys still doing their best out there. Last May, 5%. This May, 10%. Which actually 10% is the highest percentage that I've seen since we started doing this.
Yeah.
Since I started paying attention to those percentages.
That feels like a much higher number than I expected. Why are we doing so many VAs? We have more veterans coming into our area. Did we open a National Guard base or something? Like
I don't think that this is why, but I have in the past 3 months or so heard more defense for the VA line. Like, no guys, it's a great loan. Like, you should, don't just cast those to the side.
Yeah, so that is true. I've heard that too. Yeah.
I think for the most part, most people are still going to take the conventional or cash any day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's a factor. Maybe agents are kind of advising their sellers to, like I said, not just toss the VA loan to the side.
I would think that at 88 transactions versus 120 a year ago, I think they start taking whatever offer they get, right? The number of transactions going down. I'm probably advising our clients, hey, if it's a legitimate offer and you like the numbers, let's not get concerned about FHA, VA. Let's just take the deal,
Just take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Run with it.
All right.
Well, yeah, that runs through pretty much everything we've got here. Did you got any overarching thoughts or ideas we didn't touch on?
No, just the biggest thing is what we actually talked about, and that is the number of transactions has dropped significantly enough that we should all pay attention. We should all think, okay, what does this mean? Is it a blip? Is it a hiccup? Or is it a trend? So it didn't really cause me to do anything different yet, but it is certainly something that if it becomes a trend, we need to adjust our strategy accordingly, whether you're a buyer or a seller. If you know that there are less transactions happening, as a buyer, you have more leverage. As a seller, you need to be more aggressive. You need to pay attention to those VA and FHA if you're a seller, because number of transactions went down. That means the number of buyers didn't convert, whether they are still in the market or whether they just sat on the sidelines, said, I'm not going to make any offers, that they decided not to convert. So as a seller, be aware. If you're selling something in October and you can have it ready by June, maybe you need to get it ready by June. Let's go ahead and strike while the iron is still hot.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably expect that days on market to creep up a little bit too. I mean, if we're just having fewer closed in general.
You heard it here first. Corey's prediction: days on market are going to double by next month. Is that what I heard?
No, that is not what you heard. But it will creep up, I think, for sure.
Double by next month would be 20 days on market, which would be still incredibly fast. The other thing that you have to remind sellers, it does look like there are less transactions. It looks like days on market are going to take longer, but the actual price went up 9%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That still is not changing.
Yeah, that seems to be continuing. Yeah. That's all I got.
We will see what June has in store when we get there.
All right. Very good.
All right.
There's your market update for May 2022.
Did it.